this computer. Okay, so for the third time in today. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're doing great. Let's quickly, without any delay, just review this one quickly. Guys, we define a class called Panda, and that Panda has two fields. One of them is like string name. The other one is another Panda, right? Means that, hey, this class, it's going to deal with another Panda, another object that you want to create from this class. You're going to see that. Wait. This is a constructor, and the reason for that is because the name of this is equal to the name of the class, and there's no return type. And what we are going to get is a name for our Panda, right? And that name that we get it from the input is going to place inside the field 1 point. And that is when you have a method, whatever the method is, the parameters that you have inside the variables that you had inside it, they are variables. They are variables. If you say here, guys, this is a method, right? If you say int a equal to 10, for example, no use for it, but let's just have it. What is this a? Variable, lovely. The same guy just got to this part, even if you don't say private or whatever, it is field. A class level variable, it's gonna be field. Different personality. Look at this one. I'm going to answer all the questions after. Here we said that, okay, if I get a name, assign that name, whatever it is, Reza, ABC, Philip, assign it to the field, get it from the user, assign it, say that this Panda that I created now has this name, like John, for the example that we have. Does that make sense, everybody? Look at this. Now we have a method, and that method is going to use that Panda object. We're not going to pass just a name. We're not going to pass just the age, for example. We pass a complete object from that class that we created. That is why that we have it here like this. Look at this. We say this, guys, this, imagine that we create pandas John. This means John's mate is equal to Sarah that we passed, and Sarah's mate is equal to this, which is John. Does that make sense? And this part is super important. We say that, what is this name? Guys, tell me, Sarah or John? John, because, yeah, we have just imagined that we're here. John, and we say mate is equal to, okay, did John marry yet? He didn't. So it's going to be null. If it is null, then say not married. If it is not null, then say the mate's name. Which is going to be, hey, wait, they need to just go and propose, and it takes time. Listen to this part now. Guys, we are going to work on this 100 times. It's not easy at the beginning, but when you hover the mouse here, what's going to happen? Because it's going to create a breakpoint, right? Okay, till this moment about what we covered in the class, is there any concern, any question? Amika? Which one are you talking about? Whenever you get something and the color code here is light blue, they are variables. But the variables are gonna just take place inside, I'm sorry, here. The variables are gonna take place, they're gonna initialize the values that we have here, for instance, of the fields, right? So get that, put it on the tray of field. Does that make sense, everyone? Yep, lovely. So let's look at this one. We put that gizmo called breakpoint. And if I'm gonna just start running it, it goes all the way. Wait. Please don't do that to me. Oh, here, just because of this. If I run the code, it's going to get there. P1 is going to be null. the safest is to say go into. It gets here, guys. What is inside name? John. Pass it into the null field, which is at the moment null. We say what? Go to this line, go to this line. John is going to be now this pandas from now on officially is John. And then we get back there. Look at this one. Here, now John is mate and has not married. Does that make sense? Guys, I don't want to go inside. Listen to this. I don't want to go inside the method. I want just to go, do it, come like this. I'm going to say step over. Look at this. It went inside, did the job and come back. And now P2 is Sarah, not married as well. For the rest, I'm going to do just say, go to the next line, go to the, here. I said again, step into. That's the safest. I get there, guys. What is the name? John. Is John married? Not yet. So because the mate is null, so it's going to just feel, it's going to say not married. And look at what's going to happen. You see that John, mate, not married. Guys, everything is 100% clear. This is one of the super tough concepts that we cover in the whole semester. If you can get this one, good job. And you see, it is not that difficult, right? Look at the next one. Guys, I don't want to go inside that. What should I choose? Step over, right? Go, do the job and come back. That's why you see the result here, right? And then just step in, step in. This part, I want to get there and see what is happening. Which one I should say? Step into. Getting familiar, right? So we get there, we say, what is this, John? What is mate? Null yet, but the mate that we pass is Sarah, which is not married as well. So then, guys, this one, from now, look at the beautiful thing inside. It said that that person is John, which is married. The mate is Sarah. And here we are talking about Sarah, which is not married yet, okay? And then the next line, look at this one. It's going to be Sarah, which is married at this, yeah, married John. And we get to that part, we get to the next line. And for this one, let's just say, look, here the status is changed. And I'm going to use step over, done, finish, and they lived happily ever after. So is everything super clear? 100% vision. Now, no question, no doubt. By saying that, we are ready to go to the next part together. And that is the question, guys, the question that I have for you. What is the role of constructor? Reza, you said it 100 times. Tell me, what is the role of constructor? It is initializing, the role is initializing the object. So when we don't initialize, what is going to happen? When we don't say anything about constructor, because what's going to happen? Compiler is going to make one default constructor for us, which is going to fill the drawers with nothing, right? If it is integer, it's going to be 0. If it is string, it's going to be nothing. Everything is clear. Okay, so we need that to call, guys, look at here. We called a constructor. Here is the constructor, right? Here is the constructor. Question for you. For the constructor, we need to call it inside main. Is it acceptable to use private constructor? Because if it is private, I cannot call it then. Shahid, does it make sense to define a private constructor? Yeah? I guess no. Because I'm not sure. Take the side, yes or no? In this case, no. That's very diplomatic. Justin Trudeau's answer. In this case, no. Okay, Let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to bring you from the beginning of this PowerPoint till the part that we call it minions. How many of you know about minions? Seriously, those minions, let me just, how many minions do we have this? Yay, minions. Okay, I'm gonna bring you quickly all the way to minions. Let's see. Okay, so we talked about constructors. We say it is important because they're gonna initialize the values. And then we said that when there is no constructor, it's gonna be a default one. The private constructor, are we going to have any? So guys, please, I'm not gonna waste your time by reading these slides. Do it at your end, at your convenience. We talked about all these things in the previous session, you remember? And the video is recorded, so please just watch it. I'm not gonna do it again. And then we guys, what is the problem here? I can't understand. I changed the class pandas, right, into private, and now I cannot call it. You see that it's squiggly line over there. That's what I said, and Shahid said that. Reza, I told you, right? It's not possible to. Don't do that. Okay, but the thing is, let's just read. The constructor is automatically invoked when an instance of a class is created. It is invoked immediately after an object is created. It's a good place to make the intended object usable. And a constructor doesn't create an object. That's the role of new. New is the one who creates an object. The new creates, or the new operator creates an object. It calls the constructor and returns an object reference to the object created. Okay, just read them as well. But now the question is about private constructor. Do we have any, and why it could be important? Imagine that you want to create a game, guys, and in that game, you randomly want to make enemies, right? Randomly want to make enemies. And the difficulty level of the game tells how many enemies you might face. Like if it is easy, let's say 3. If it is medium, 10. If it is hard, 15, 20, something like that. Does that make sense? So that random generator needs to generate, but there should be a kind of control over it. Means that you can't just say, hey, just create, please, do it. Don't worry, I'm here, create. You should control that creation. For doing that, look what we can do. Guys, look at this. Look at this code. I'm gonna give you, every one of you, this part of the code, and I want you please type the rest. The parts that I'm gonna give you is this part and muscle memory. So you have the code, that part, main program. The rest is what you are going to type, that minion thingy.
Okay, whoever could finish, please give me a signal. Merci. Thank you.
Okay. Look at this one. We define something which is constant. What is constant? What is constant? Sorry? Something that we cannot change it. Something that we cannot change it. What's the difference between constant and read-only? I don't know. Look at this one. Here we have one constant, and why it is max like that? Okay, that's a kind of convention. All the constants. It's a good practice to write them in capital letters. Okay, Reza, if I write it in small letters, is it going to raise any error? No. Some languages like Python, they do not have constants. What they do, they just use normal variables, but they use capital letters to say, hey, please just don't touch these values, right? So they do not have that feature. They say just please don't do it by just capitalizing. What about this one? Here we have a static int count. What's it mean? Static. Anybody can tell? When a variable is static, what's it mean? Means that, hey, when we get there, already in the class, we have a place, storage in the memory. You don't need to create an object to access that field. It's a field which already exists in the memory. Does that make sense? Huh? Okay. What's the use of such a field? I don't know. Guys, is it possible to create, because whenever you create a class, listen to this. This is super important. When you create a class, it is going to occupy memory for that field, which is what? Which is static. My question for you, then when you create any object, is it going to allocate extra memory or separate memory for each of the objects, or we already have one memory for the class? Sorry? We already have. Listen to this part. We already have. So we are not gonna, it's a class level. When you see that it is static, means it's a class level field. Okay, we say that int count equal to 1, and don't worry, this is, guys, if you think that you got this part 20-30%, I guarantee that in half an hour you're gonna get this 100% with several examples. For this one, we say that private int mischievous level, and then we say that private string name. So these are all, guys, what are they? Lovely. And here we have minion. What is this one? Lovely. We pass name and level. And this constructor is not any constructor. It is private. What does it mean? Sorry. You cannot say here that minion, for instance, minion1 equal to new minion. You cannot call that. It's a private. But means that if I want to, guys, when it is private, means I can access it inside the class, not outside it. Now look at this private minion. It says, hey, if you create that minion, if you can if you can, if there is any possibility for you, pass that name to the field, pass that level to the mischievous level. One thing here, I have this, but for this one I have forgotten, huh? Why not? Look at this one. In the right side, we have name. In the left side, we have name. Computer is going to get confused. That is why we say, hey, this name means, what is it? This name. Does that make sense? But for this one, we have level. For this one, we have mischievous level. The names are not confusing for computer. You don't need to say this mischievous level. Does that make sense? Huh? Yeah. Vision? Right? Okay. Now, the place that we create our minions using constructors. Here we say public static min. What is this one? This is a return time. We are going to do something, and that thingy is going to return what? Is it going to return integer? Is it going to return nothing like void? No, it is going to return one minion. So that is why here, in here, when you want to say minion starts, it's going to say the output of creating that thingy, create minion, is going to be inside. Does that make sense? And look at this one. Here I said a static because I didn't want to create any object. I wanted to access through the class. Whenever something is a static means that class level, you can just create it only by having the class. Does that make sense? Okay, look at this. We say create minion, we pass name and mischievous. And the beautiful part is here we return exactly the same thing that if we had only, constructor, we needed to have something like this. Am I right? Return new minion, which is going to pass name to this name, level to this level. We say that, okay, you created one, add one into counter. When you create one minion, you add one into counter. What is the counter by default? I mean, the default value for it, initialize, 0. So when you create, imagine that you create the first, what do we call it? The first minion. What is going to be the counter? 1, lovely. The counter would be 1. Here you say if counter, which is 1 for the first, is less than 10, then create a minion. Return a minion that you created. Else return null. Does that make sense? Huh? Ayo, everything is fine? Okay. And this is something that I'm going to talk about it in no time. But for the sake of this for example, I created this one, and I'm going to pass the whole code to you. And I want you to spend time. First, you see I created what? I created the start 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I said, okay, whenever you create those thingies, just print a start 1. When we want to do print, where that printing happens, tell me. To public static, override, string to string. We call it post, if you remember, if you forget. We call it public override string to string, or for the post. And we say just show the name of minion and the mischievous level. Does that make sense? Okay. You have this code now in the Telegram. First, run the code. Please confirm if it works 100% correctly. But the problem that I have is I don't know why it doesn't make the last one. So work on it, talk to your neighbors, and tell me why we just have start 1, 2, and 3, and not the 4th one. Please start working on it.
I'm sorry, I just saw your message. I found it. Copy. Can you send a hi to me? Thank you. I'll just put it down, then you're gonna do it. Awesome, Bandish. Yes. 5. What is? You just want? Oh, please ask.
Because the maximum count is 3.
Aha. So that is why. Okay. I didn't get it, so you have a chance to get bonus mark as well. So where did we get, where did we set that? Oh.
Before the turn, it says if the count is less than max.
Huh. Awesome. Right? Okay.
Guys, ladies and gentlemen, let me see if there's any other answer, anything that I missed. I was supposed to answer quickly. There are messages for 1 hour ago. Guys, if there is any cancellation happens at all, I'm just telling you in general. Since 2017 that I started my first class here, I had only one class that I announced it 3 weeks ahead, and I announced it in the beginning of the semester to the department, means almost 2 months in advance. Apart from it, I had a surgery, and the day after I made my class. So the default is, even if the stone rains from the sky, we are going to have our class. That's the default, unless that they make it close. And if that happens, I'm going to have online class. So there is no way that the best is to come. But apart from it, if there is any cancellation or any change happens, I'm going to definitely announce it everywhere. Okay, I'm saying that, hey, this is Reza. We are not going to have class in person. Please switch to online. Getting to this part, look at this one. We have constant, which is going to say it's max. One question, is it possible that somewhere here I say, what's that gizmo, minion? Minion dot max dot what? Dot max what? Why it doesn't work? Because it is private. Okay. So what if I say public? It's going to solve that? Public might be. So constant Okay, so I said that public constant int, and I want to just, guys, I don't expect too much. I just want to say console right line. In one of the classes, just one person could just solve one thing that I asked. Just remember that whenever you say constant, it's exactly what's the meaning of constant? Means nobody's gonna touch it, right? In any instances. So why should we bother? Technically, it means that it's in a class level. It's exactly like saying it is what? Static. You treat it like a static. So that's why you cannot say, okay, Stuart.max, I'm gonna change it or something. And you cannot change it, guys. Just let me make this super, super clear for everybody. Is it possible to say, okay, max is here and let's just assign 5 into it, for example, later? No. Why? Because it's already mentioned that it is constant, right? Oh, awesome. So let's go to the next part, next question. And the one is, okay, we said that, let's just take that public out. Here we say we have that limit, maximum 3, and the count is 0. Mischievous level and name are gonna be those things that whenever we create any minion, we are gonna use them. Here is a private, we cannot call it. Here is a private constructor that we pass those things, but we are going to add one every time that you create one minion. And if it is, because it is 3, just for the sake of this. Okay, Reza, I just got confused. Very simple, click here, breakpoint, run. It's gonna get there up to that line, so it's gonna bring you here, because you called minion.create minion, and it is static, it's gonna bring you directly here. There, what is the count here? And is it less than? Yes, so then get there. We get to that part, we create one minion, right? We create one minion, and then look at this one. It's going to return that gizmo. And if you check this, it's gonna tell you, hey, let me just show you. Where's the, I'm sorry. It's going to say, hey, after this line, it's going to say start 10. The same thing applies here. I'm not gonna bother myself, so I'm gonna say step over, step over, step over. And now it is super important, guys. Now, that happened previous time as well. It's going to just sometimes, okay, let me just do one thing. Run it. You just trust me that we got there, so we should have 10, 20, 30. Now it's important. We get inside that, and then we say, what is the count? 3. Is 3 less than 3? No, then it goes here and returns null. And that is why it brings us here. And because we didn't return anything, it's gonna be null inside Stuart 4. It returns null. Look at this one. I go to the next line, and if you hover the mouse here, it's gonna tell you that it is null. Nothing is inside it. And then technically, you're gonna print null. That is why you have one empty line over there. Is it super clear for everybody? Lovely. The bonus mark task for you is, make it simple. Reza, what do you mean? Means that change private constructor into public. That's the first. Get rid of extra function that we have here. Like normal cases, we don't need count, we don't need max. As much as you want, you can just create minions, no control. Finish it. No control, public constructor. Change it, raise your hand and receive your bonus. Thank you.
Yep, done. Seriously. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Seal. We don't want to have minion create minion. We just want to replace it with constructor. Yes. We have to create monsters. Don't want to have this one, just get rid of that. Yes, critic, come down. Okay, well. Okay, nothing, go down. Awesome, just we don't need knives and cameras. Okay, so coming the last round. Nice. No. Awesome. Son. Yes, sir. Okay.
Can I have your attention, please? The simplified version is this one, just with constructor. You see, everything is packed and simple. Here I said, let's define a class minion, and we have two fields here, mischievous level and name. And there we say, let's have a, what do we call this one? A constructor that passes name and level, and you're just gonna initialize the fields and then to string. Instead of saying start create minion, we are gonna say new minion and you pass those values. Does that make sense? Very simple. It's just like creating any class that we had before. By saying that, actually, we get to the part that we want to know, hey, Reza, why some places you used, like here, you used static. What is the philosophy behind it? Why we might need that? Oh, imagine that you want to create a game. And in that game, for instance, you want to have explosion that doesn't have anything to do with specific player. It should happen based on the situation, right? So you need to make it what? To make it kind of class level static. You may want to keep track of the number of enemies that you have. Again, class level. Look at this one. This gentleman is amazing in explanation, and I very much enjoyed and learned from him. So let's just share that with you too. After that, you're gonna create this code. So let's watch it.
When I told the recruiter, his reaction was, congratulations, is it a boy?
Yeah, let's do this. All right, the static modifier. The static modifier is used to declare a static member, one which belongs to the rather than any one specific object. I have a class named car. Cars have a field named model and a constructor to assign a model and instantiate car object. And I have two car objects, car one, car two. Car one is a Mustang, car two is a Corvette. Here's the situation. Let's say that we're going to have a race, but we need to keep track of how many cars are instantiated that are entering our race. One way in which we can do that is to create a static field to keep track of how many cars are created. So let me show you what this looks like with a non-static field first. So let's declare an integer variable named number of cars to keep track of how many cars we create. So I will declare this, but not yet assign it. And within my constructor, I will increment number of cars by 1. Remember that with constructors, you're not limited to only assigning values to fields. You can do like any sort of code that you want. Remember that it's just another kind of method. Okay, so every time we instantiate a car object, we will increment number of cars by 1. And then let's display number of cars. So we need to access this in a non-static way by typing the name of the car object, like car1 dot followed by the name of the field. But it looks like we need to make this public. Public int number of cars. Car1 dot number of cars. Let's do the same thing for car2. Car2 dot number of cars. Now you would think that the number of cars would be 2, right? And that's where you're wrong. Number of cars for both car1 and car2 are both 1 because each car object has their own copy of the number of cars field. And within the constructor, when we increment each copy of number of cars, well, it's only ever going to be a maximum of 1. So one way in which we can fix that is to change this field to a static field. After public, type static. Public static int number of cars. And we can no longer access this field in a non-static way by typing the name of an object followed by the name of the field. We would have to access this field in a static way by typing the name of its class followed by the name of the field. So type the name of the class car followed by, dot, then the name of the field. So this field now belongs to the car class, and no one object has complete ownership of it. It's kind of like they're all sharing the same variable. And let's try this again. So the number of cars that we have created is 2. Now, just to test everything, let's create a third car. We have a third racer within our race. So car 3 will be what about a Lambo? And we now have created 3 cars. So again, by preceding this field with the static modifier, the class now owns it. We can also apply the static modifier to a method as well. Public static, and we'll create a method to begin a race. Let's call this start race. So we don't want each object to be able to start the race on their own terms, right? So it would be better if the car class itself has a start race method, so that if we would like to begin our race, we can access it in a static way. The race has begun. Then if I need to invoke this method, I type the name of the class, car, dot, the name of the static method, start race. Then set a parentheses to invoke it, and this should now begin our race. The race has begun. And then you can also apply the static modifier to a class itself, but then you can't instantiate objects from this class. You can see that we're getting errors. Cannot declare a variable of static type car. So that's kind of like the deal with the math class. In order to use a method of the math class, we wouldn't create like a math object, right? Like math 1 equals math, right? we would inside map1 dot round to rounded number. It's a lot easier just to use directly the map class type map dot round. So that's kind of the idea behind a static class. You can't create objects from a static class. And we kind of learned about that in the video on classes. Well, in conclusion, the static modifier can be applied to a field, a method.
Okay, so let's just see, after finishing this, we're gonna have a quick break, but let's see here. We already saw that you can create, guys, what is this one? Number of cars, right? That we added, and it's the public static number of cars. It didn't say at the beginning that it is equal to 0, but because we didn't define anything, it's gonna be a default value. And whenever you add any instance of the class, it's going to add automatically 1 into that number. And then this is a static, as you already know. I copy this code for you, and I want you to just play around with it for a sec. Control C. You have the code inside Telegram, so just play around with it for a sec. If you need to explain it to your team members, to your group. Okay. Guys, is it kind of clear, Jennifer? Are you? Just and so, all right, clear? Okay. Look at this one, please, everybody. The next thing is pretty close to the concept that you're gonna see in your quiz today. So without any further emphasis, just relax and enjoy. We are going to define a class called coffee. And in that class, guys, in every class till this moment, what we learned is a place to store data, which is called field, and a place to do actions that we call it method. So here, I asked you to create a class called coffee that has 2 different fields. One of them is type, like espresso, double, or whatever. And then the price, $2, $3, and so on. It could be what? It could be, I don't know, like restaurants that you have different food. Anything that you imagine. It could be a class that we have number of credits that the course has. The name of a course, the prerequisite. It could be all of them, could be, right? And then we need to have one constructor. The name is equal to that. So we are gonna say, okay, string type, this dot type, the fields is equal to what you pass and so on. And I said that, okay, let's just print what we have here. And then guys, I had one mistake. I couldn't find it last night. So I I was hoping that you're gonna help me. So I order one coffee here. Guys, anybody needs any explanation for post? Okay, listen to me. The father of all classes, the master class, is something very general, abstract. And if you define any class, it has come from that master class, that abstract class. And the default is, whenever I don't say anything, if I say print the name of, and I pass the name of an object, it is going to do what? Print the class name. If you say print object, it's going to say the class is car. Say, hey, print Toyota, car one, whatever, class Toyota. Oh, sorry, class car. So that is why I just overwrite that. I say the copy name is this one and the price is this one, right? I overwrite that. But here my problem is this, guys. I ran this code, and if anybody can fix my error, and then simply I said write it, but it gives me, here it is. Here's the coffee thing. Right? But it shows two coffees. Is it one of those stores that you buy one and they give you two? Look, espresso and its price, 2 times. Okay, text your answer to, then more people can get bonus mark. Okay, I'm gonna just check the answers here. Um, awesome. Who else? Awesome. Just say what is extra. No, it doesn't count. Ripu, where is Sherry? Online classes? Okay, Ripu. I always remember his face with a big smile. Always. Okay. So Flip. Lovely Flip. Welcome to the league. First bonus mark. Good job. Bendish merci. Okay. Almost the only person who didn't know is me. Who is this one? Okay, Jennifer. And Raphael. So right lane. Rafa. And Jay. Thank you. And the Ayo. And Kritika. Merci. The good thing is I can just, let me just quickly go through. Yes, this one's correct. Amikas, thank you. Hi, son. Thank you. And Huang. Merci. Vikas, thank you. Um, and Jamila. Okay, Jamila, please explain. For instance, we should delete that, right? Consider my age. I don't know. You have to explain. Look, everybody, exactly as Lamia. You fixed it? Yeah. It doesn't show 2 copies. Just try it. Run it and see if it shows. Okay. Can I have your attention? Rafa, merci. Okay. Can I have your attention, please? Look at this one. As many of you already mentioned that, Reza, you don't need to have this one here inside the constructor, and that is why we just write this. It's gonna just do exactly the same thing. Right? So just either get rid of that one or you don't need this one. But I personally prefer to be minimal in designing my class. So the classes should be minimal. And the reason for that, if you ask, is, guys, it's like if you have a kind of complicated module, it's like a crowded room. You can't understand where the problem started. So in order to trace the code, and that's one thing. If somebody says that, why minimal design first? Because it is easy to trace the problem, to trace the issue error. The other thing is, if you make something very special, you can just use it in special cases. If something is reusable, you can reuse it everywhere. Does that make sense? So reusability, easy to trace. Anyway, by saying that, if you look at the time, it is 8:09. Let's have a 10-minute break because we are going to start a very serious subject. We need to have quite good break. See you at 8:20. Thank you.
I work for in Hong Kong as a programmer. Yes, and it's usual to I'm in object-oriented. I think the static variable is not useful because if you want to control the number of take the example for the for the minions examples, we should have maybe we should have a minion factory to control the minion.
Minion what?
Minion factory, maybe somehow like that, to control the minions, minions counts. So, is that? I think that is more. I understand that might not cover it in the course, but I think it's is that more is that more readable in SQL?
Sure. Actually, in many cases, I have comments on the material that we have. So they're not the best, but because there's a kind of standard, and having one standard is better than having no standard. So they say that these are the things that we have to follow. I try my best to implement them as best as possible. But if you just want to say that, is it possible to change the course to make, more useful approaches? Definitely. Unfortunately, I'm not the one to decide. But if you want, write the suggestion, and I'm gonna just forward it to one. Maybe they consider. Okay, good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
No worries. How are you doing? Good or excellent? Awesome. So you have time, guys.
Just a quick check with the people at home. For people here. Harjit, can you hear everything? She's eating dinner. Okay. No answer yet. Just two. English and Persian. नहीं. आप मजाक कर रहे हैं? Okay, so just let's okay. Can you hear me? Everyone? So look at this one. So the thing is actually technically when we get there it says that the summary, the constructor is a member that has the same name as the class and talks about it is defined like methods can be overloaded. We saw that we can have several constructors. And if accessibility is declared private, rare cases could be the time that we are going to use it. And then the static constructor help initialize class members. But there could be some questions that are these methods that are mentioned are the best methods? The answer is, well, no. But there are some standards that they define it, and I very much like, actually. I'm not saying that they are state-of-the-art methods, all of them, or they're flawless. The good thing is, guys, compared to many, and I'm not saying it because you're already a student at Centennial, right? Just I tell you, I'm not gonna sell you. I just want to tell you that this is one of the best colleges that I have ever worked with. Even way better than some universities that I worked with. One, they assign the profs, not all the courses. I was a prof in one of the universities around Vancouver, and they just gave me any course that they wanted. I was like, hey, did you ask me if I have any knowledge about it? Guys, one course was in hardware, the other course was in operating system, the other course was in databases. It was like my head just was about to explode. You can't be jack of all trades. And the beautiful thing is here, the people who design and define the course outlines, they are into this business. They have PhD in computer science, computer engineering. And rarely you can find that in other colleges that even they are more famous compared to Centennial. The person who's my course coordinator is somebody who has irrelevant master degree. Yeah. So, and apart from the resources that Centennial provided for you. We try our best because I received that question about some of the content. I just want to assure you that I'm not saying that what we have would be the best, but they keep updating and keep improving it. And there's always a room to be better. We can just look at it that way. And one of the things that I shared in the other classes, and I want to tell you here as well, because this is not the very beginning of your journey at Centennial, all of you, and this is not the last semester. So you might have some issues, and I want to tell you some solutions about it. Guys, some people ask that, hey, Reza, why you're that much restrict? And I actually, let me tell you, in one of the colleges, they told me that, hey, why you bother? Just go read the slides. Honestly, just teach, go home. Why you bother? And if anyone wants to learn, they're gonna learn. If they don't want, that's a tendency. They say that if anybody wants to learn, that's their responsibility. They're gonna just go to interview, and then the market is going to brutally filter people. Guys, that's the mindset of education, not only in Canada, in many countries that they make money out of education. So what can we do to get the best out of it? Because every session I say that we should be on time. We should do this. We should be honest, because these are the soft skills that make who you are in future. These are the things that you gain step by step, brick by brick, and you make your castle in future. And the thing is, guys, not you, not anyone else. Bring your potentials, bring your possibilities, and not the excuses. And you're gonna see in your team, there could be people that they come there and they say that, hey, you know what, please, this week my schedule was this. Can you just do the job behalf of me? And that is going to be their tendency. One week they have overloaded the schedule. Next week, they are not feeling well. Next week, they have bad news from home. Next week, and they're going to just bring all the excuses. If that is the case, guys, I was a student as well. And for 1 year, I had leave of absence. I needed money. And I couldn't ask from anyone. So I just said, okay, can you please just postpone my education for 2 semesters? And I worked, saved money, and then again, I continued my education. If people have that issue, that's their issue, guys. Let them know that we are not here for our excuses. We are here to gain potentials. And if that thing happened, that is why some of my colleagues, and I don't support that at all, they give these kind of questions as a group kind of project. Why? Because already I have 90 students here. I have 300, almost 30 in just one class at George Brown, 100, some 130 in another class there. And I have university classes too. So if you collect, I have almost 500 students. Very easy. I just give 5 people one task, and I just mark one group. Isn't it easier? 20% of the time. But is everybody learn? That's the question. And the next thing that I want to emphasize is, guys, in your team project, that's gonna be what you suffer the most. Because people are gonna say that, yeah, you know what, very simple. If such a thing happened, don't use text, don't use phone, don't use anything like that. Simply use email. For the first time, if they didn't follow and they didn't think about the project that you have, simply the first email, send to everybody. That's the first document. Second email, send it politely, CC the prof. Third email, send to prof, CC the students. And politely say that I cannot manage and handle the case. I would be grateful if you find another team leader for this project. I'm telling you, 90% of people with the first email, they're going to just understand what is happening. 9% of people with the second email, they're going to do. Email number 3 rarely happens, but it goes to those 1% that are in the wrong school and wrong country. Let them know. By saying that, I want to invite you to go to the next part together. And that is a beautiful thing called field. Do you remember? I said, hey, fields are responsible for what? To take care of the data, right? Let's see. What are fields, you may ask? Condition. Where we use them, how to declare them, how to initialize them. What are the accessors that we use, like private, public, protected? What are they? Look at this one. Guys, here is a class, empty class, but this empty class is even capable of creating objects because automatically it has something which we call it default constructor. You can say foo f0, foo f1 new foo, and f2. But I'm not aware of what is happening in the last line, and that is something that I want you to just help me. Let's keep it here. I bring you to the definition that we have here. Guys, this, you remember that I said this John at Panda, huh? I borrowed it from Microsoft, and that's one of the very fruitful resources that you could have. And this is the one that we already talked about. And I told you and I promised you, we are going to work on it later. But I want you to start with this example. So to save the time, I'm going to give the program parts to you. So, and I want you please type the rest of the code. Here it is in your just give me a second to copy the rest for you, and then you can start. Here's the whole code. And this is the part that you need to create. As always, we need to have some fields. They're all private for sure. Constructor. And we just have a method here. Okay, whoever finished, please let me know. Give me a signal. Awesome. Done. Those who couldn't finish, please just take a snapshot from the screen and then continue typing if you have any issue. But let's see what is happening here. Okay, these are the things that we have. And let me just take a snapshot. Guys, I think rarely many of you didn't have a chance to experience those chalkboards and so on. Do you see these things? That's super useful, very handy, easy to work with, especially if you have a kind of notepad or something. Let's just, use it now. Getting you back to this code. Here I say, let's create car 1. Let's create car 2. Based on what? This constructor. We get make, model, year, color, and we pass them to the fields that we have. And then simply you're going to say what? Your car, you drive for instance, BMW, or among the examples that we have, Chevy, COVID, 2021, for example. But the thing that makes it different from the rest is this line. Guys, we have in memory, we have, sorry. We have a kind of memory for car number 1, which is in the class of car. This is car 1, guys, which has make here, which has model here, which has year, which has color, right? Okay, it's based on the pattern that we say, okay, based on this class, create that object. For car number 2, guys, I'm not gonna take your time. We are gonna have that Chevy kind of things the same place. But for the third one, we say car 3. Say what? Car 3, this is car 2. And if you look at here, we say whatever we have inside car 1. Okay, my question is, and I have no answer for that. Are we going to create a separate memory for this? Who said no? Why? How you can prove it to me? I have no clue, guys. You already have that. So please just prove it this way to me that, okay, Reza, I know 100% it's gonna do it like that. Actually, when I say drive, I know this up to this point. That's my knowledge. When I run that, it's gonna tell, yes, Ford Mustang, Chevy, then Ford Mustang again. So car 3, it's yes. It's going to represent the same information that we have in car 1, right? Does that make sense, guys? But please prove it to me that they are not separate entities and car 3 points to. Can anybody do that, please? Yes. Sorry?
With the string, it's like a capital S, so it's like a green instead of blue.
Wow, that's a tough question. I have no answer for that. But remind me, the last file that I have provided for you, that's the point. It is a question that exactly Sarah 2 semesters ago asked me. And if you see that the time is 23rd of June, and it's exactly talks about, sorry, talks about exactly what is the difference between a string and string in C#. Actually, the main class is this one. This is the alias for this. So that's why we We could use both of them. But we are gonna just read it at your convenience. That's the short answer. Okay. Yeah. So for the answer, just send me the code. Yeah, thank you. Yes, please. Means you have to add some stuff and prove that why it is like so. درود بر شما جامعه و تشکیل من الان سر کلاس سنتری هستم ساعت 10 تمام میشه اگر که بریک بدم حتما خدمتتون پیغام میدم یا تماس میگیرم حتی که من اجازه دارم خدمتتون تماس بگیرم. Okay, anybody send code? Let me just check. Sorry. Hi. Nice. Good job. Yeah. Bravo. Who else? Anyone? Okay, how about this? Can I have your attention, guys? Just to the interest of time, because I want to have enough time for the quiz and not rush. Listen to this part. Oops. Undo. Hey, son. Amika. Okay, I need to see the code. Okay. Only one of our friends sent me the code, and that is the thing that I expected to have. First thing first, guys, if you want to change, during that code, you should be able to change the fields during the code. And for doing that, definitely first, we need to change these private values into public. Otherwise, you cannot, show anything, right? So the first step, change the fields from private. I'm not saying that's the best strategy, not at all. I'm saying that is the way that we can show that if they are separate or they are looking to the same. And next thing is here, after saying car2, for instance, here I said car2, not car1. Well, who cares? Let's just say car. Car1 inside car3. And if you just say, well, guys, let's just bring it car2 because later I used car2. If you just say car3, that's make is Toyota, and the model is Corolla, and the year and so on, listen to me. The important thing is after change, yes, car3 would be Toyota, Corolla, and so on. But I don't know, tell me, if car2 shows it is Toyota Corolla as well, it shows that they are in different locations of the memory or the same place? The same place, because it's like you have two cameras, right, Ayo? Those two cameras, they just focus on one object. It's something like that, car2, car3. Does that make sense? But if you change car3 and it shows that it is something Toyota, but car2 still shows Chevy, it shows that no, there are two different objects. Is it correct? Is the logic fine? So if I run this one, you see, so car 1, car 2, car 3, but look at this one. Car 3, we say after change, you drive Toyota Corolla, and car 2, it shows that you drive Toyota Corolla. So this picture is misleading. It's not correct at all. Technically, what actually happens is this one, when you say close the car 2, means, hey, refer to these locations. Nowhere else. Does that make sense? Huh? Okay, lovely. Guys, there is a chance that you say, Reza, it was super fast. I couldn't get chance to understand all those details. The classes are recorded. And by saying that, we already got to know this one, but let's get back to the slide from 0 to 11. So here we talked about all these fields. They could be private, public. You define all these types. You can just say string. What is a string? It's going to be a class level variable, right? So use these slides as kind of, and I'm not going to read the slides for you guys, right? Reading the slide is not my job. I tell you everything. We are going to have lots of hands-on, but please read it and read it carefully. And the thing is here, what are the differences between these two? Here we have int a in the level of class. What do we call this? I have forgotten. Field, lovely. And what do we call something which is inside a method inside class? They're just local variables. Huh? Simple. Let's go to the next part. Here we have class foo, and we say int a, and we create new. And why it says that it's going to give us error? Anybody can tell? Ayu is looking like.
Okay, Ayu.
Anybody tell? Wang, any guess? Huh? Talking to a minute. How about you? Listen to me, guys. Let me ask you something. Class is something like a check. It's not cash. Class is like a check. It's a promise. You can't say, hey, I promise to give you a 10. It's not there. It's just a promise. And then based on that promise, go and invest 10 plus 10. Hey, come on. First, give me the cash, and then I'm gonna double it and put it inside variable B. You can't do that. Does that make sense? Okay, let's just see some examples here. Look at this. Here I said, let's have int price equal to 10. Is it possible to say B is equal to price multiplied to, you see this squiggly line? That's the reason. Look at the next part. Guys, what is the problem of here? You might say, yes, Reza, I think that Chan wanted to say Reza, but I could say static, then I could have memory allocation for it. So it was not what? It was not a promise. It was the actual value there. Yeah, you're right. You can just say public is static occupied the memory, price equal to 10, and you could say B is equal to price multiply 2, then it is there. But what is the problem of here? If I say car1 dot price, car1 dot price, it's a class level. It's a car dot price, not car1 dot price. Huh? Okay. Apart from it, guys, how about this? It works. That's what I told you. because you brought it to the class level. So then here you can just say car dot price, and then what are the differences here, guys? What is happening? If I don't say int c equal to 0, you know that the default value for it is 0, right? Look at this code. This is exactly, okay, these are the things that we have covered already together, but I intentionally want to share this code with you and spend a few seconds, run the code. Whoever explained so far this code to a friend, the other person now is responsible to just share their opinion, explain it, spend a few minutes. Thank you. Okay, I checked your code critical, but it was good, but not the answer to the question. Good job. Okay, everything is clear. Guys, it is a simplified version of that we talked a few minutes ago. I wanted to look at this one, please. Here I just define one. I define one field. The name is price. This is post public override string to string. Here I say, let's have a car one. And the price of car one is equal to 10, right? And then I say car two equal to car one. What does it mean? Means that point to the same address. So if now you say, show me car two, it's gonna just show you exactly the same content that you have for car one. And when you change car two, guys, remember, there are two cameras focusing on one object. So if you change from either side, it's gonna get changed for both. So both are gonna just show you 200 after that. So 10, 10, and then when you change car two, car one is gonna get changed to. The other thing that I wanna explain to you is this one actually, we say, I would love to see if anybody can see the bottom layer of what we have here. What is happening in every single step in this code? So Control C, let me just bring it to you. Control A, Control V. Look at this part. Here I say class foo, and I say public int C equal to 0. This is, what is this phase? Guys, what is this phase? This is when you say new, right? It's going to just assign that C0. Look at the next step. What's going to happen right after that? Tell me. After that, you call constructor. And in the constructor, what is going to happen? C is going to, okay. If right here, I say, guys, new means C equal to 0. I go a little bit. So now it is C equal to 100. Lovely. And then, guys, here if I say, show me, what do we have inside C? What's going to happen? 100. And after that, if you change it, it's going to just be 70. Does that make sense? So that's why, very simple. No sign of 0 because it's going to immediately override by. It's overwritten by that. The next thing is, let me just see if I, yep. What about this one? I said read on, uh-oh, uh-oh. We have a situation here. And that situation is, well, I said read only. Look at this one. Let me just change this. Public, what? What if I say public read only? Guys, oh, somebody pressed my read only. Right? Okay. Look at this one. For C, I see that I can change here too, but I can't change it there. So this is something that, yeah, it has no joke. And I'm sorry, it has no joke, and I'm gonna just use this one. But look at this one, which is super, super important. Instead of that, what if I say constant? What's gonna happen? Shoot, lots of troubles. And it has come from where? Listen to me. I asked you a question at the beginning of the session and I provided, guys, this one is for later access. So please just read it at your convenience later, but look at this one. I knew that some people might ask question about this. So I said, what's the difference between read-only and constant? So as you see here, if you make it read-only, you can change the value inside the constructor and nowhere else. But if you make it constant, you can't change it anywhere. Okay? Okie doke. So that's another slide. And if we go to, so that is why, because they are read-only, you can just have, you can change B here, but you cannot change B there. And here we say, guys, I don't like this type of, let me just see if I can find the code. It's not readable very much. Yeah, I talked about this read-only and constant. Maybe the next one is constant. Let me just see. No, read-only. And that, okay, this is the one. So here I said, you're going to have public int age, public static, static int program. Because it is a static, it's an instance level or it's a class level. Which one? Class level means that it doesn't belong to any object. Yeah, so look at this one. I bring the code here, Control V, and I say that let's have public int age. Let's say public static int program. And if I run it for everyone, it's going to show you that one. Let me just do one thing. Control C. And again, Control C. This one, E1. Guys, why I tried to just help me. My brain doesn't work. Why it doesn't work when I say car1 and I want to tell that change the program? Why? Why it doesn't even show dot? Oh, sorry, I'm saying car1. Key1, I'm sorry, my bad. Key1, and I say dot, and it doesn't even show the program. Why? So what's wrong with it if it is static? So instead of that, I have to say person, right? And if I just say dot, what was it? Program. Program, and if I just change it to 7345, for example, and then I run it, look at the result after that. So first it's that initial values, then it's going to change it for everything. Does that make sense? By saying that we already covered this one, okay, you know that, how it works. And the summary, please read it quickly. Just fields are variables declared at class level, not declared inside of a method. In that case, they are just local variables. normally decorated as private. So if they are private, means that for now, the only place that we know how to manage them is where? Using constructors, right? Let me ask you something. Imagine that the Indian style of education, the numbers are between 0 to 20. What if a person just wrongly enters 50? Not acceptable. What if in Canadian version, we have 0 to 100, somebody says -10? That's not correct. 120, not correct. So is it possible, just for the sake of having constructor, we accept those invalid numbers? No, right? There should be kind of mechanism to control. That's one of the things, one of the concerns that we have. You might say that, Reza, I can do this, do that. There's a kind of standard way. I just want to plant that seed in our brain. Next week, we're gonna start, guys, we are not going to say, okay, this is properties and that's how it works, setter, getter, and so on and so forth. I can't go that road. We are going to invent why we have setter and getter. Okay, we just go step by step, create things, and we are going to just wipe the whole idea and then say somebody has invented for us. But let's go that trip together. So read-only static, we just know. The other thing is, how is a field different from a local variable? What are fields used for? What's the difference between a field that is decorated with the static modifier versus the absence of that? What is the difference between the read-only and constant modifier? I don't know, but we have examples. We can go through it. Just review them. Do not, guys. The thing is, another suggestion to my friends, those who have worked with me before, I always suggest that, guys, programming is part of our life, right? So let's just make it hobby and do not look at the, at least my intention is not that. Do not just pile up all the assignments and do it one day. If you do that just in one day, next day you're gonna forget it. Just do it gradually, every day. By saying that, we are at the beginning of something that we have already worked with. Methods. What are the methods? I very much like the last slide that says, this one, the second last, third last, sorry. It says that the methods are the workhorses of programming. They are the engine of programs. They are the action part that we have in our program. So how are we going to utilize them to get to what we want? So there are three major methods that are super important. One of them is what, Philip? I think main. Huh? Main is one of them. Have you ever seen static void main in all the programming languages that they are siblings with C? Or maybe the child or grandchild, children of C? We have always a static void main. That's a platform. Is it necessary for all the projects to have main? No, maybe there are libraries that you're going to just use them separately later. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. How about post? Public static, sorry, public override, string to string. Sorry. That's something that we have already talked about. It's a kind of super class that we have. If we do not define anything specific, it's going to just bring the name of a class when you say console writes line. What is the other thing? Constructor. A semi kind of method. And it's not method because it doesn't return anything. So these are the things that we really consider as the methods, but they could accept prompters, they could return prompters, but not necessary. Recently, they added multiple returns. Let's just talk about it later. We have something that from decades ago that you can send to different variables. We use out, we use ref. We're going to talk about them extensively. So it may declare and use its own variables. Yes, you can just define variables inside method. And guys, is it acceptable to have two methods like this? What do we call this if the signature of them are different? Overloading. But remember, you shouldn't say string phone number, and for this one you say string name. No, they should be totally different set of types, like integer, string, integer, string, null, all of them. The next thing is we already covered that. So public static void main, just read the slide. That's the hardest thing, just to read without doing practice. Okay. This is the first thingy. Okay, what do we have here? As you see, I just said, oh, wow. I just said right line car one. Did I say public override string to string somewhere? Yeah? No? Jennifer, did I say? No. Oh, you said no as well. So that is why it's going to return what? It's going to return class name. Lovely. Awesome. And here I just fixed that part. I said that public override, and it's going to show, yeah, this is car class. The value is in B is that thingy. Does it make sense? Lamia? Yeah? 100%? Yeah? Not enough. Pay attention to this one. What is that? Okay, did I change the slide? Yep. It is possible that, guys, methods are the members of what? Apart from that, they are members of the class. They attach to the objects by dot. So that is why you simply, for instance, we have a string here. You can simply say dot split. And you see that concept in many a language. Like what? Like Python and Pandas. You see a lot of examples. And it is a job. By the way, we already have worked with many static methods, static classes, like what? Like math.sqrt. We didn't say that create one object. The other thing is console.writeLine. We didn't say that, hey, we have to create one object out of console. These are the things that we have already worked with. And now we get to this example, and I like very much this example. That is why. Let me just bring you to the file. You're gonna have hands-on. Bonus mark is waiting. So let's just bring you there. Somebody closed my file. There we go. So yes, we talked about this thingy not having post. Now we have post. Then more complete version, we have post, and yeah, everything is nice, neat. But this one, okay, rectangle. What I'm gonna do, guys, as always, I'm gonna give you the program part. Intentionally, I want you please spend time, type the rectangle part. Just wait a sec. Seriously, my brain doesn't work. Oh, I received your text now, but guys, sorry if, okay, I'm just gonna close this. If you don't mind, I'm gonna just delete your message, not maybe it is you. Definitely, just get well soon. Go home. Yeah. Okay, that is that part of the code, and my Paul, I'm going to copy the rest in the program. First thing first, try to complete the code here is the part that I didn't. Yeah, rectangle class. Whenever you are done with the code, give me a signal. It should give you something like this. And I'm gonna come back in no time, sorry. Done. Awesome. Done. Merci. Bravo. Okay. When you are done, please just spend 5 minutes, go through the code, explain everything that you understand. Just explain it to your team member.
Done. Sorry. So please. For instance, say A equals 5, but there should be actual 5. That's what I'm saying. In the class, we don't say if we create one class, we're gonna have a memory, and then we're gonna just have that object inside it. But we don't have it yet. And based on something that we do not have it yet, you cannot say, okay, now that's value. Hopefully one day we're going to make it, add it to something that's. Yeah, no, thank you. No worries. But it was a deep question that you asked. Okay, guys,
Please allow me to just explain this one to you. And I'm gonna quickly go through the assignment number 1. We have, as you may already know, we have lots of assignments in this semester to get the content. Here we said, let's have 2 standard fields, a name length and width respectively. And then we have one, what do we call it? Constructor, because the name is the same as that, no return. And why I didn't say this dot length, you know that, because the name of length is not equal to the name of variable that we get there from the arguments. So that's why you can just simply leave it. That's what we have post to say what we want to print. If we just say console writes line an object, right? And so everything makes sense. But why I said public static string this, because I don't want to limit this guy to an object, right, John? I want to make it, okay, fly higher. You are in the class level. Does that make sense? So if you say the name of a class, it's going to just print that one. But for get area, you get the value of length and width, and you just simply return the multiplication of them. That is why here I say, let's create one object, R1, let's call it R1. From rectangle, new, occupy the memory, initialize length and width respectively by 8, and open the drawer, put those values inside. And then I say, okay, just show me what is R1. And simply, guys, you can, whenever you just want, you can just, go and see what is happening by go there to that rectangle, put those values. Now we have 8 and 5, and then get back to here. And now if you say R1, it brings us to that post. And then now if you just, we have to get back, sorry, I have to get back to here. Look at this one. Now we have length 8 and width based on the things. And then if we say get to the get area method, it's going to return the multiplication of that, which is 8 multiply by 40. And it's going to just print it. Look at this one. And here we have just, this is not R1. It is rectangle class level. So if we just run that, goes there, and finally we have everything that we want. Okay. By saying that, I just want to address one more thing, and I'm gonna close the video after that. Then I'm gonna just start the game. The numbers for this group would be 5, 6, 5, 6. But before getting to that wonderful game, let me just tell you, some of our friends ask me that, Reza, where is the quiz assignment? Yeah. Why we have these kind of comments? Okay, I do not recommend this way of commenting. This is just for the sake of education. So you see that in questions like here, we have comments like, yeah, constructors have the same name as the class and so on and so forth. These are the things that Narendra was kind enough to continue teaching us what are the constructors and so on. Generally, when you want to type a code in a company or something, just define the variables, the functionality of methods, explain why we have used that, who just did it, when they did it, and just use GitHub to just have different reference of them and versions of them and so on. But please do not teach your colleagues like this. This is kind of like underestimating your friend's knowledge, right? If they want, they can just, simply Google it. Say what you are doing in your code. That's a kind of ethic that we need to all apply. The other thing which is important is, I remember for the homeworks that I had, guys, to graduate, I needed to publish something. That they were my assignments. And I remember for one of the things, if you search, you can see, it's PB Dodem was the name of the article. My code was like 4,000 lines of code. And I'm telling you, when you start the second 1,000 of the code, you already have forgotten what you have done in the first 1,000 lines, right? Actually, at least that was my memory capacity. I couldn't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone, just remembering the code that I have done 2 weeks ago. So what I did was this. Before I submitting that, I had 60 some versions. Can you imagine? 60 some versions. And I was lazy to just type everything, and it is not easy to read when you type. What I did was I used my phone. I started telling the story, and I was like this, Reza, look at this line. In this line, you have defined this, for instance, I said that you have defined a public class rectangle. And why you define that? Because you wanted to calculate the area of a rectangle. So for that case, we need to define proper fields. And I defined two, right? After a while, I realized that, okay, I could have a better way of doing that. I use Zoom to print a screen, to have the screen, to share the screen and just record everything. So I explained that, and I remember, guys, I do remember that I mentioned that, okay, now you know why you didn't say length.len, length is equal to len. You just simply said length equal len. You didn't use this. You know that, so I'm not going to explain it. That's example. I remember I sent my article and one of the panels said you have to do these kind of changes. And for me, it was like a funeral. I have to go through 4,000 lines of code and I didn't remember. I just listened and it was like refresh in just, I don't know, 30 minutes or 45 minutes. I could remember everything. And the part that I reached and I was like, okay, this part is easy, so I'm not going to explain it to you, Reza, talking to myself. I was like, I started cursing myself. Why you didn't spend just 2 more minutes and explain that? Now I don't understand. Guys, don't be stingy. These are the strategies that when you define a project, you're going to use. Long story short, record your projects. The last thing that happened to me when I get to Canada and got accepted by Metropolitan University, Toronto Metropolitan University, my supervisor said, okay, congrats. Next week or 2 days from now, we are going to have a session that I'm going to introduce you to the team. And for the initiation, just deliver, present what you have done for your master's thesis. I was like, oh no. The good thing is I have recorded 2-3 versions of my master thesis. I watched it in 2 hours. I just converted my slides from Persian to English, and just I was ready. As simple as that. So don't hesitate to document, don't hesitate to record. That's pretty much it for what I wanted to share with you today. Those friends who are gonna watch this recording later, thank you very much. And I wish everybody a pleasant evening and pleasant time. Let me just stop recording.